Bună ziua, vă spunem din nou. Mă bucur că este sala plină. În viața mea n-am văzut o sală atât de plină la o lansare de carte, un amfiteatru plin. Și umorul, până la urmă, este un mecanism de coping și de supraviețuire. Dat fiind faptul că astăzi lansăm cartea lui Marc Lewis, mă gândeam așa mai în glumă, mai în serios, cum să introduc tema și invitații de astăzi. Și în stilul meu caracteristic, mai pe glumă, mai pe așa, pe umor, zic bună ziua, mă numesc Sorin Lucaci, sunt om de comunicare la editura Herald și sunt dependent de alcool, tutun, sex și ce-o mai fi. Revenind la lucruri mai serioase, adicția este printre noi, să zic așa, în viața noastră cotidiană, dependențele, adicțiile, comportamentele adictive și cred că fiecare am experimentat în viața noastră momente mai scurte sau mai lungi de adicții. Da? Eu pot să afirm fără jenă că m-am confruntat cu diverse tipuri de adicții. Acum mă lupt cu mâncatul emoțional și compulsiv. Și că adicția, în forma ei malignă, poate să ucidă. Și nu exagerez cu absolut nimic. Că vorbim de mâncat nesănătos, că vorbim de mâncat prea mult, vorbim despre obezitate, că vorbim despre tutun, despre alcool sau despre substanțe interzise, adicția mai devreme sau mai târziu ucide sau destramă relații. Și când spun că destramă relații, mă refer poate la dependența de jocuri de noroc, de jocuri video, de pornografie și cea de shopping până la urmă, că afectează bugetul familiei și multe, multe alte forme de adicții. Astăzi, alături de noi, trei invitați foarte importanți, pentru că lansăm cartea lui Marc Lewis aici la Universitatea Politehnică București. Evenimentul Cum ieșim din bucla dependenței, lansarea cărții Biologia, dorinței de Marc Lewis. Această temă aduce cumva în discuție înțelegerea și depășirea dependenței și avem câteva trigăre. Cum funcționează creierul în procesul adicției și rolul plasticității neuronale, ce înseamnă craving-ul și cum modelează obiceiurile, legătura dintre biografie, biologie și apariția dependenței, de ce conexiunile autentice și sprijinul comunitar sunt cheia transformării, pentru că așa este. Marc Lewis, specialist în neuroștiințe, profesor de psihologia dezvoltării și autor al volumului Biologia dorinței. Mona Ciurezu, psihoterapeut relațional, terapeut certificat IFS, Internal Family System, Anca Mazilu, neurochange, trainer, moderatoarea acestui panel și realizator TV la televiziunea publică, la TVR. Un eveniment organizat de editura Herald, în colaborare cu Compassionate Inquiry România și Mind Architect. Și din acest moment am să-i dau cuvântul Ancăi Mazilu, care moderează această discuție, cu întrebările aferente invitaților. Vă mulțumesc și audiență plăcută în continuare.
Mulțumim, Sorin, foarte mult pentru introducere și mulțumim tuturor că sunteți aici, deși nu sunteți atât de numeroși. Cred că e important, asta vorbeam mai înainte. Oare e important cât suntem? Nu, cred că exact atâția cât suntem trebuia să fim aici și avem urechile deschise. Și chiar mă întrebam, pentru că eu am postat la mine pe Facebook și știu din lista mea de prieteni virtuali, oameni care se confruntă cu dependențe și chiar tare aș fi fost curioasă dacă o să-i văd astăzi în sală. Și cred că nu o să mă țin neapărat de lista de întrebări pe care mi-am pregătit-o de acasă, ci o să încep cu prima întrebare, cu siguranță trebuie să începem în engleză. să vorbim cu Marc Lewis și o să-l întreb exact asta. Oare de ce, la un eveniment gratuit despre o problemă care îți distorsionează viața la toate nivelurile ei, exact cei care ar trebui să asculte nu sunt în sală? So, as we were talking before, I win out of this conversation, no matter how big the public is tonight.
Okay.
And I wanted to know, before going through the hardcore discussion of the day, why do you think some of the people that have seen that this event will take place, that one of the most important people in the world researching everything from both sides of addiction, exactly, is here in Romania, in Bucharest, for a free event, and yet they haven't chosen to be here. They know they have this problem, they cannot get out of it by themselves, and yet I don't see any of them sitting in the audience today. Why do you think it's so hard to admit, first of all, that you need help?
First of
Let
all,
me help you, please.
oh, of course.
Wait one second. Okay, it's on.
Yeah. How do you know that they're not here?
Because I was telling them that some of the people, my virtual friends on Facebook,
Oh, people that you know.
I know
see.
personally, and I know that they are a bit troubled.
I see. Okay.
This was my question. Why do you think there is this choice to keep my troubles away from others? I hope other people will never know I'm in trouble.
That's what they might be thinking. You're wondering. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been here the last day and a half, have you?
No, I haven't.
So you don't.
No.
No. So we've talked a lot about shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked about it just now in my talk as well.
Okay.
It's a big deal for people who have addiction problems. I think this is something which many of us agree about, that of all the negative emotions, I mean, people who are addicted, whether it's drugs or alcohol or sex or porn or gambling or whatever, know that it's not good news. They know that it's miserable. They're not happy about it. But why the shame? Why is shame such a predominant emotion? And I think the reason is pretty simple. Addiction is partly about not having control, about losing control. And control is such a fundamental human value, characteristic, trait. We are really, really proud of being in control. You ever watch a 2-year-old or 3-year-old kid walking around? They're so happy and proud that they can walk, or that they can catch a ball, or throw a ball, or talk, or whatever it is. To any kind of control feels special and really important. They're praised for it, they're honored for it. So you got something which the defining characteristic is loss of control. It's fundamentally shaming.
Okay.
And that shame is coming from inside and it's coming from outside, both. So not an easy thing to get past it.
Okay, and when was the moment when you started to begin to see addiction not as an illness to fight, but as, and you shifted and you have seen it as a part of your human journey?
I never saw it as an illness, ever.
Ah, that's interesting.
It never made sense to me. Partly when I was in active addiction in my 20s, it was very serious. I did a lot of bad things and committed crimes. I got thrown out of school, graduate school. I mean, just so many difficulties. And then tried, recovered, finished. It was okay, good. But it never seemed like a disease in any way. Like it seemed like a wastebasket category. Oh, that's easy. Let's call it a disease. Dump it into the category and hand it over to the doctors. Seemed lazy, and it did not seem logical.
Okay, and the control is outside of yourself, and
That's
you're
right.
not responsible for it.
Exactly. So that
Okay.
doesn't help.
So when was your precise moment when you said, hey, that's all about me?
There wasn't really a precise moment. The history of my books about addiction, where how it started for me was after I had been studying cognitive neuroscience, brain science, for quite a few years. I wanted to write a book in which you could put together the mind and the brain in one story. So the brain could be almost a character in the story. And I said to my wife Isabel, I said, so what should this story be about? I don't really know what to write about. The mind, the brain, I'm very interested in both. She said, why don't you write about your years of addiction? Oh, that's a good idea. It was that simple. I mean, it was just kind of dumb. Like, oh yes. And then once I got into it, once I began to understand how deep the problems, the questions, the solution, the attempt to find the solutions, how much energy, how much suffering, not just me, a lot of people, how much suffering is going on here. Then I thought, this is a really important, this is not just a casual little flip of the dice. This is a big deal.
Okay. And in your book, you're saying that neuroplasticity, this characteristic of the brain, is fundamental and is helping you to get out of all kind of addictions.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult for all the medical doctors and for all the professionals
Do you see that?
to see that? Yeah.
It's a good question. Partly because they're doctors, and right? And part of the oath, so to speak, the emblem, the branding of being a doctor is you know everything. You know best if you're a doctor.
Okay.
You're an expert. I mean, I told the audience here about the skin thing that my son brought back from youth hostels in Spain, and it was a really awful thing. And I went to 4 or 5 different doctors, and none of them would ask me any questions about it. Said, oh no, I know what it is. It's this. No, it's that. It's this. No, it's that. And they're all sure of themselves. Only the answers were all different. My brother's a doctor. I have a lot of respect for doctors. My father was a doctor. Nevertheless, it's part of the training, the psychological, the emotional training, is a sense of being an authority. So I think that's one of the main reasons why doctors don't want to give up addiction. They don't want to say, oh no, we don't really understand that. We give up on that one. They're not good at that.
Okay. And I can understand you studying the subject because it was so personal and it was somehow normal. But I would like to know about you, Mona. Why did you start to deal with patients or clients with addictions? What was your inside trigger?
It was simple, because I really understood addiction because I was there. I spent a long time in addiction. So I have a lot of sympathy and care for people who are suffering.
Okay, that's your quite intuitive answer, let's say. But I wanted to know about you, Mona. What
So
drawn you
first was my pain. My mother was raised by drinking adoptive parents. So I was like no alcohol in this house. So when I learned about IFS and about the firefighters, which are responsible for addiction, was really fascinating, because some of the firefighters are really approved by the society. For example, if we work a lot not to feel, it's really applaud and say, well job, good job.
Yeah.
But if we have a firefighter who is, I don't know, try to kill someone or is addicted, is really pushed down, and it's in the circle of the shame. Because unfortunately the doctors and even therapists and families, when they want to help an addictive person, they offer advice. They are run by their fear, and they are not having any space for them. So they are controlling. And in a way, they are keeping that person in that circle. And what is really interesting about the shame, what Dr. Lewis was saying, and how the IFS is looking at this, is shame is like in a circle. So the base of this is the connection, because when shame is not a basic emotion.
That's debatable, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Yes, it's the idea that when, for example, I'm a child and I'm with the parent and parent say, you're bad.
Yeah.
In order not to lose that connection, I will take this belief about myself, which is shame.
Yeah.
And then another part is coming and saying, you didn't do this well. So taking the model from the parent and apply it inside and producing even more shame. Even the intention is not that. It's just trying to keep the shame away, not to achieve, not to arrive in the same moment to be shamed. And then we have other parts, for example. You said why some people are not here.
Well, the directly interested, let's call them.
It's, we have this part of the brain are the managers.
Yeah.
The parts who are organizing, planning.
Planning long term.
Yes. Strategies. How, what to do in order not to get there, not to feel again the shame.
Okay.
On the other side, the firefighters are linked with the reward system, with the dopamine, as it is written in his book. So it's really important what's happening. We have some parts who are saying, I'm running away. I don't want to go there and to feel ashamed.
Okay.
So,
but they're both doing that, just
Yeah.
in different ways, right?
Yes.
Managers are doing it proactively.
yes, because they are using the prefrontal cortex.
That's right, yes.
Yes, and they have access to time.
Yes,
the-
whereas the firefighters are much more intuitive and automatic and
It's like the firefighter.
Impulsive.
I have a fire. I
you
have
put
to.
it out.
Yes, it doesn't matter if I damage the furniture.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
Fair enough.
yeah, so this is how I was really inspired and really tried to understand what was behind the firefighter. And there is the pain, the deep pain. So the idea, the bigger the firefighter, the extreme his behavior, then the pain is also extreme. So it's a connection.
It's a correlation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also a feedback loop.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, thank you for your honest answer. I saw you were a bit emotional about it, but
Yes.
I'm sure every time I see a specialist in something, in a niche so sensitive, I'm sure there is a personal reason behind it, because we don't just pick up subjects randomly. That's interesting, I should do that. No, that's something inside of our hearts. And speaking of hearts, Dr. Lewis, you were describing like the heart, the center of desire. And instead of fighting the desire, to take it somehow in this in the recovery path. Can we?
Instead of fighting it.
Sorry?
Say that again, please.
Okay, so you were describing the desire as the heart of addiction.
Yeah.
Okay, but also the key to recovery. How can we work with desire
The key.
instead of fighting the desire?
Oh, I see. I think I understand. Just one more word about shame. First, we need to recognize that every emotion that we understand has an evolutionary purpose.
Okay.
Shame has a very powerful purpose because it is the primary means by which parents educate and socialize their children. And that goes not only for humans, it goes even for dogs. If you ever watch a mother dog, if the puppy is doing the wrong thing, attacking, for example, an alpha male, then the mother will pick it up, bite, like that. So there's something fundamental about this way of labeling behavior as wrong, bad, internally, globally wrong. It's so built in, and the mechanism is ready to do it. So all the parent has to do is say, you're bad. And if they say that at the right age, in the right context, boom, the connection is made, and it's done.
Okay.
And the wiring, is hardwired from then on.
And do we have to go to therapy, for example,
No, it's
at
like
a certain age, or can we get out of addiction at any age?
Well, wait, that's two different things. So shame is a very general, ubiquitous emotion, and it doesn't always mean part of addiction. It's just addiction is an extreme generator of shame because of what I was saying about loss of control. That's what I think anyway. As far as the age of starting, but I'm sorry, you had a question that was a little different. That was, remind me what you just asked me.
The
Oh, I
first
know, it's
question
about
on the-
desire. No,
the
but
desire, yes.
using desire to get out. Not only to get in, but
Not
to get out.
fighting the desire, but using the desire. Not fighting the craving. Let's
See, I
put
wouldn't-
craving and desire.
I wouldn't put it quite like that. Yes, you are using desire because everything requires desire. They can raise mice that have a knockout gene so that they are not producing dopamine or not producing a dopamine receptor in a certain brain area. And without that receptor, without that synaptic connection, these mice presumably are not getting any of that dopamine, desire, focus, rush, attraction. And what happens is they die of starvation because even though they're hungry, they don't have the desire to eat. They need some, even a lower mammal requires desire in order to focus attention and behavior and thrust on the goal. And without that, you don't get anywhere. So addiction, you've got all this desire and all this craving going on. The system is firing full blast. You need to find something else to take all that energy of desire and focus it on simply another reward. Well, what can be a reward that's as good as cocaine or heroin or fentanyl, whatever the hell it is, or sex, right? So that's the problem. Find something that can compete, but that still can generate desire.
Okay, and can a specialist show you a different desire to take your attention away from cocaine, for example?
If by specialist, what do you mean a specialist? I'm a specialist, but the
Okay.
reason I'm a specialist is not so much because I've studied it, it's because I've been there.
Okay, so you're a specialist in getting into it and getting out of it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
And that's a big deal. And people,
without the personal experience, you cannot call yourself a specialist, truly.
you ask why people did not attend. Some people don't attend, right? It's because people who are in active addiction they believe, and they're correct, that nobody understands it unless they have been there. Okay. And it sounds simplistic, maybe. You don't understand me, really? But really, they're right. Nobody really gets it all the way unless they've been there, because it's such a ridiculous, impossible, mixed up state to be in, and to fight it, to try to master it, to try to overcome it again and again and again, to keep failing, even though you know it's completely fucking up your life. That is, the height of absurdity. You Romanians know about absurdity, right?
Yes, we do.
So.
Yes, we do a lot. So you really need to get out of your normal environment to...
So you need to have a sense that somebody, and somebody made a very good point in the talk about group therapy that's happening here in the compassionate inquiry practice. They use group therapy in a very particular way. You're now in a room full of other people, all of whom are having active addiction, and you know that everybody in that room understands and does not look at you in that way of disgust and shaming and judging, stigma, the whole works. They feel, oh my God, I am understood here. And that way they can relax enough to be present and maybe to start to change. Maybe that's the same reason why people did not come to some people that you invited.
Okay. Mona, do you think Romanians have a different attitude towards addictions rather than other nations? Rather than what you have read in the book of Dr. Lewis, for example?
Here, the doctors are seeing as a disease, because it's in the DSM. So the idea is, if you believe that this is a disease, you are bringing helplessness to the addictive person, and you are not helping in any way.
Okay.
So the way the person is feeling seen in a way is either by a person who was there and knows how is it and is not bringing no shame but more acceptance, or through IFS. This is the basic of the IFS, because we believe that all of us have this self, this curiosity, this compassion, and when you are in this energy of curiosity, you are not producing shame, and that person feels seen, is heard, and is there. So is two ways. Then you can either the addictive person who was there and it's having the openness because of that, or a therapist who knows how to be curious and is really understanding that the firefighter has, at the end, a good intention.
Yes, exactly. I just disagree with one little thing. It's not that you're no longer generating shame. You're still generating shame. But you also have self here to say, it's okay, I understand, I care. And you really can almost emotionally hug this part and say, you know, you poor little thing, you are just cringing all the time like that. It's awful, isn't it? And
you help him not to be alone. It's making that connection, which is really important.
So important.
Not to be alone in that pain.
Yeah.
Because this is the way of healing, the connection.
Okay, and what if you find yourself as an addicted person, you find yourself understood in the therapy group by your therapist, and then you go home. You go back to a place where you are not happy, maybe, where people are ashamed of what you have become, what the stigma you put on your own family or on your own clan. What is going on in that moment? How can you get out of your own addiction, even though you're trying, you're struggling, you have found somehow the healing tribe, but you need to go back home? How you cope with that?
So the first thing is that by being understood, the healing is not happening. So it's not enough just to be understood. It's important to deal with that pain, to stay with that pain, to make the connection why your firefighter is helping you. What is the connection with your past, with your pain? And it's like you are staying today with one foot in the present moment, where you see yourself big, with different abilities, with this nervous system, and with the other foot in the pain. And when you have one foot here and one foot there, this is when the healing is happening, because it's like you from now can stay with your part, which usually a small part. Usually the firefighters are kids.
Okay.
And so it's, yes, usually teenagers. But anyhow, he's not the adult. So it's like you are offering yourself from now, you are offering this containing of the emotions and staying with what that part is carrying, with the exile behind the firefighter. So by doing this, releasing the pain from there, even if you go home and someone needs, I don't know, try to say something to you, if you release enough of your pain, you can handle them. Or even if you understand what is going on for them. For example, in therapy, what I'm doing with clients, I say, you see, this is your parts and these are the parts of the other. And if they see that the other is in fear, for example, and the mother is trying to control because of the fear, and understand that it's about the other, it's not about him, this can be handled too. But it's true, if you are just going, being accepted, and then go to the same place, you are clearly relapsing. And even relapsing is not bad, because the healing is not linear. It's like, if you look at the relapse, okay, I can be curious, which part of me felt the need to do that in order to cover some emotion? And I'm curious, because these are coming up layers to layers to layers. So this is a new, it's a shift how to look at the relapse. Because usually, again, the relapse is happening and then more shame. You are not able, you lose control.
Yeah, I was asking this because there is this saying, you cannot heal exactly in the same environment that made you sick. That's why I asked the question.
Which is why the word sick doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but if we put it in the context, if we are taking, so there is no connection with this.
I just wouldn't call it sick.
Okay.
Because this is the point. It sounds like you are you an IFS therapist?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
So yeah, it is a different way to do it, and there are levels and layers, and even the word relapse is too loaded. I wouldn't call it a relapse. I mean, I would call it a return to something which has something to do with where it was before, but it's not the same, it's not identical. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever. I told you I was using drugs for a while after my separation because I was in a lot of pain. So I thought, okay, try that for a while. No, it's not working, so stopped. I couldn't have done that when I was 25 at all, but I can do it now. So it's not the same thing.
Okay.
It's different.
But are you ever really safe?
But
You ever really clean, let's say?
Clean is an awful word.
Okay,
Don't-
let's talk about that, because you are both specialists. I'm a journalist. I have the curiosity of a person that is from outside, let's say.
I'll tell you exactly. As soon as you use the word clean,
Okay,
the implication, if you're not clean, what are you?
dirty,
Yes.
before you were dirty.
You're dirty.
Okay,
Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. You are a dirty person? Dirty? Like what?
okay,
It makes no sense. It's a way that society has to label and to shame and to judge and to reject people because they're doing something the society doesn't like. If this was 400 years ago or even 250 years ago in London, you could be drinking as much gin morning to night and nobody cares. That's not a problem.
okay.
It's not about drinking gin. It's about what the norms are. And if you are absolutely confronting the norms and defying the norms, society will fight back one way or another. So that's what's happening. So they'll start to, you're dirty, you're this, you're that.
Okay, so how,
In
please
the
help me.
Philippines, you're going to get killed.
Please help me how to formulate this question in this case. Are you ever, for example, for a person who has been addicted in their 20s, 30s, and now they are in their 50s, and something terrible is happening in their life, is it safe for them, or they are in the risk, I don't know what words to use, help me formulate the question, in the risk of going back to what made them feel better?
The problem is that everything that you're saying is a metaphor of either dirt and clean.
Exactly,
or-
that's why
or
I'm asking you
falling-
to help me formulate
And that's
it
what I'm doing
right.
right now. Or the metaphor is you're standing at the edge of a cliff and you're about to fall off and die. Because if you say unsafe, well, what does that mean? If you do cocaine for 4 weeks, does that mean you're dead? No. If you do, or, whatever it is. If you watch porn for 3 days, does that mean you're dead? So the whole idea of talking about safe versus at risk stops making sense when you're talking about whether somebody is using something addictively or not for some period of time. That's all.
Okay, that's a totally different,
Yes.
Angle to look at addiction.
I mean, when are you ever safe from anything is another way to approach it. When you're safe from cancer, car accidents, there's not a lot of safety in life anyway.
Okay.
So what really are we talking about except throwing words around?
Okay. Do you want to add something? Because I saw you nodding.
The idea is that I know that usually, at least in States, is this idea of you have to be clean. I know that they use the word, and if you drink or if you use substances, then you are ashamed because you couldn't control. But I agree with Dr. Lewis, because by consuming, for example, the firefighters, okay, having that behavior, doesn't mean that you are addicted.
Okay.
The addiction is happening when you are moving from the impulse to the compulsion. Meaning when, for example, you don't have that link between this prefrontal cortex, where the managers with the strategy and with the timing, you don't have access to these resources, and you are trapped in that part of the brain with the reward, with the compulsion, this I have to do this, and it's not linked with the desire anymore.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but
In a
even
sense,
so, that's where you're at today, and maybe this week. That doesn't mean you've lost all connection between your prefrontal.
no. You never, you can do this connection, because this is happening when you are run by a tiger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Temporarily, this happens when you are run by a tiger, because you don't have to think, you just have to run.
Yeah.
To act,
So,
yeah.
yes, but the problem when you are for such a long time in this fight, flight, unsafe, pain, the brain, it's, because it's plastic, it's, yes.
But to make we don't have a lot of tigers in our,
Yes, we don't have.
but we did have COVID for 3 or 4 years, right? And addiction rates went way up
Yeah.
for about 3 or 4 years, and down.
Yes. And because, yes, it's a reaction to the perceived safety. No, it doesn't matter if,
And to boredom and to loss of connection. When people
yes.
were locked down, loss of connection.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the words like disease and safety they don't mean very much when you think about the quote addiction is part of a larger picture.
Yes, it's true. I agree.
Okay.
I know I'm being a bit severe about wording, but well.
No, but it's great, because this can make, words are super important, and as long as we understand
Yeah.
the phenomena with the right, as the right concept, with the right words,
Yeah.
we can also ask the better question and look at it differently, either it's about us or about other people.
Yeah.
So it's
It
a
is
totally
important.
different light, and thank you for making this underlining in using words.
Yeah, sometimes
And-
I get
Yeah, it's good. That is good sometimes, look. And I don't know, if you were to give a piece of advice, only one piece of advice, to someone who feels stuck in the loop of addiction and has totally lost hope, what would
Yeah.
you say? What would that advice be?
Well, there's a couple of things, maybe two. One thing is the more hope you lose, the more difficult it is to imagine any future without the drug use or whatever it is. You can't imagine it very well because it keeps happening and happening and happening. And there's the other phenomenon in my book. This is actually one or two of the chapters in my book, the book that you have translated, about not delay discounting is one mechanism, but this one is, what do I call it? Ego fatigue. Ego fatigue. This is another dumb expression from psychology. Ego fatigue means if you have to hold up a microphone or anything for 3 or 4 minutes, it's not a problem. If you have to hold it up like that for an hour, it becomes very, very difficult. If you have to resist the desire, the craving to use drugs or sex or gambling, whatever it is, actively resist the craving, ongoing with, all of your attention, it becomes close to impossible. So then what do? Then you need basically the same thing that mothers use to raise their children. You need distraction. Distraction. Not a bad idea. Distraction. Put your attention somewhere else. This is one of the failings of AA. Everybody sits around talking about their addiction. It's hard to get off the topic, right? But sometimes with my patients, with my clients, I'll say, well, seen any good movies lately? Or maybe tonight, instead of getting high, there's a really good series on Netflix, or something like that. So that's a way to break the hold, that high effort pushing back on the craving. That's one way to help. Of course, everybody knows that the best way out is connection. because connection offers you both. It offers you care and love and, acceptance, but it also offers you distraction. There's another person. Oh, that's good. Another person. Okay.
Okay, connection is fundamental, but sometimes, let's say, it's not very easy to really get
And you're
connected
right.
to
And your
someone.
question about that was a very good question about what happens when you go back to your lonely little apartment or your lousy marriage.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a tough one.
yeah, that's the connection you end up to get. So it's important to concentrate on connection, first of all.
Yeah, and
Okay.
also, and in IFS, as we know, it's all about connecting in here. I am with you, even if your wife or husband or whatever is not here, or even if whatever, it doesn't matter. If I can feel like I'm taking care of you and we're having a conversation in here, that gives you a lot of, what should I say, fortification.
Ah, that's a nice word.
It is a nice word.
Mona, if you were to send a message to the Romanian therapists and specialists, and when I say specialist, now I'm thinking twice because I understood that to be a specialist in addiction, you have to know both sides somehow.
That's one way.
Yeah. What would this message be for the Romanians? Do they see differently the addiction? Do we have a different definition of addiction or a different approach?
First of all, I would ask both the therapist and the families to look inside them to see from where they try to help.
Okay.
Because they can try and to help from a part of them who is afraid and try to control or criticize or save, but with control.
Okay.
Or they can first stay with what it's in their corner, say, okay, I'm afraid to acknowledge where they are, because it's not easy to be with an addictive person. So to stay first with them, and then to imagine, for example, when they are looking to the other person, is to imagine that they don't have first the age. When they are addictive, they don't have the current age. And sometimes it's helping to see them that they are younger, in fact, than they are now. So, for example, it's a 40 years person. No, it's not. It's a teenager.
Okay.
So, or even smaller. So, by changing how you look, and when you succeed to look like that, you have more of this curiosity and compassion, and you can make the connection that Dr. Lewis was talking, because otherwise, from part to part, you don't have a connection. Because your parts having, jobs in your system,
Yeah.
and my parts have jobs in my system. So when your parts meet my parts,
Okay, so
But when we
if
are
I'm an
meeting,
adult
exactly.
wanting something from another adult, is wrong because the other part is not an
yes,
adult.
so this is the first thing. The second thing is we can be for a while their caregivers in a way, meaning from ourselves to see their parts, to decrease the shame, to help them see themselves. And after that, offering this model, it will be easier for them to access this model, because usually when we look at the addictive people, they enter in that with a brain which is vulnerable, which have different models with criticize, and they are criticizing themselves. So they are in that loop of the shame. So by offering a new model, it's a way to help them.
Okay, thank you very much. I can see that the clock is waving at us, that we should stop. I don't know how it was for the public, but for me it was a bit revealing. If they are specialists, they know for sure everything that you have said until now. But for me, thank you very much for the discussion, because I'm really I will be more careful at using words and seeing addiction in a different way. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.
Mulțumim tare mult că ați fost alături de noi.
Great questions, by the way.